tackle from James Tarkowski can't go unmentioned.
That tackle could have featured in This City Is Ours, which is got a sort of a violent theme running throughout it. And you're right, and that's why I thought we might want to get Des on. Des actually texted me right away after the tackle on Alexis MacAllister. I didn't even need to look at a replay, I have to be honest. I saw it at full speed. It was a disgrace of a tackle, an absolute disgrace, and it was malicious. It was nasty. It was a leg breaker. Actually looking at the replays made it worse, and I was wincing every time. And must have showed about 3 or 4 replays. Des, can you possibly talk me through how the officials have managed to allow that one to slip past with a yellow card?
I would love to say that I could try and find some sort of mitigation for it, try and find some reason for it, that they were unsighted. As much as Sam Barrett is the man in the middle at that moment in time, and I don't know, he might just have had an off moment at that moment in time.
Is he following the ball? Is he maybe not looking at the aftermath of the tackle? I don't know.
I would love to say yes, that was what he was doing. I'd love to say it. I can't. But I think for him missing it, and if he is following the ball, then the balls came from somewhere, and the balls came from that challenge. Because let's be honest, Alexis MacAllister never got control of the ball. But how VAR has never picked that up is beyond a joke. Now, I will try and defend referees any time I can. You can't defend the indefensible, and that is ultimately indefensible. That could have ended McAllister's career. Now, we've seen horrible things go back to 80s that really affected Ian Durrant. Yeah. I'm saying that tackle is worse. When that challenge was made to Ian Durrant, yes, the forcefulness and the vengeance that was put in, it was done from a static start. That came from a distance. It came with excessive force. It came with brutality. It came with endangering the safety of an opponent. And I wouldn't say it came with endangering the safety of an opponent. It came with endangering the career of an opponent. Yeah. And how that has gone amiss is nothing short of scandalous.
That ticks every box. That you've talked to us about, the way that these things are looked at by officials. That every single conceivable box is ticked there. And Des, my first reaction to you was, I think adds to the argument, adds a bit of weight to the argument about maybe ex-players should be involved somewhere in VAR. Maybe somebody, because to me, if an official's looking at that and he says, well, he's won the ball, then I don't care. Anybody that's played football at any level can see what that is. It's an assault. He's won the ball, and then he's deliberately went through, and I think he's tried. I genuinely believe he's tried to injure Alexis MacAllister there. You're right, if McAllister's leg's planted, that's a break. And even though it wasn't fully planted, you saw the way his ankle turned. I was actually surprised that he got up and played on after it, even without his foot being fully planted. I don't know. Am I right? Is there an argument that if an official can't see what that is, then do they need more help? Do they need assistance from ex-pros or whatever? Or is this just an outlier?
It could be an outlier, but let's be honest, I think that the referee in the VAR last night, they could have done with any help they could have got, because, and I'm really glad to see, and there was no way of hiding this, the PGMOL have come out today and said it should be a red card. I'm sorry, that's very scant consolation if Alexis MacAllister is lying in a hotel room today with multiple injuries. It was a shocker.
Lying in a hospital bed with a pin in his leg.
At least, and listen, I've got pins in my knees going through that, and I was never subject to a challenge like that. On the point of ex-professionals being a part of it, yes, I would encourage it. We've seen Sam Murdoch this year, Jamie McCunney coming through. These guys are making their way in the game, and I'm all for it. I actually think that when these teams are taking in youth programmes, particularly those that are going full time in the SPL, I think that refereeing should be part of their education in the process that they come through, because they have to then go and work in an industry where they can make the opportunity to make vast sums of money. but they don't all know the laws of the game that which they have to operate in.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys as journalists are bound by strict terms and strict liabilities that you know where you can go. You've got to get it checked with legal people for saying certain things. Me and my job, I've got massive amounts of regulations that I have to go through. And as a footballer, the only job that you go to work in that you don't need to know the constraints of what you are allowed to and not allowed to do on a football field. I think that seems a sensible approach. But again, I've said that numerous times, maybe I think a wee bit differently to some people sometimes.
The thing is, Des, we've kind of hammered our refs, our VAR, Scottish football. We always kind of want to beat ourselves up a little bit. Can you imagine something like that happened in an Old Firm? That's as bad as I've seen in terms of VAR getting it wrong. Could you imagine the fallout from that if it wasn't a Merseyside derby, it was a Glasgow derby, it was an Old Firm match? There'd be absolute chaos, pandemonium today.
Yeah, but we've seen a government inquiry from two managers having an argument on the side of a pitch.
We'd be back at Holyrood today.
Yeah, who never got into any serious conflict other than an argument. If you imagine that in an Old Firm derby, I think the league would be shut down. We'd have a 3-month council meeting, and then we decide how we're going to take it forward.
We've got plenty of comments coming in from guys watching as well, obviously kind of echoing what we've said. John says, how did the VAR guy not spot it in review? He must have gone to the toilet or something. Mark Fairfield's chiming in saying VAR again, completely negligent. Scott, we kind of said before coming on air, it's one of those instances where you just kind of think, what's the point of having VAR if you can't spot that?
100%. I mean, for people like myself that are pretty cynical about VAR anyway, I mean, that is a perfect example of, what's the point? I mean, if VAR isn't there to punish challenges like that, then there's no point in it being there at all. Take up Keith's point as well. I think MD that's played football knows exactly what Tarkowski's doing. He knows what he's doing. You get a tackle like that, you don't need to, you clear the ball. You don't need to keep your foot that high. You don't need to have that follow through. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's a derby game. He's trying to put his stamp down on it quite literally when Alexis MacAllister. But there's a line that you don't cross. I mean, listen, we all kind of know the game. In these kind of high pressure games, that you want your team to have a wee bit of kind of devilment within it, but there's a line that you don't cross, and I think he crossed it big time last night. And how as we've touched on, how the VAR doesn't look at that and think it's a red. I mean, everyone who's looked at it thinks it's a sender off. I mean, in terms of the referee, I don't know what Des thinks. My initial reaction with the yellow card is that he knows it's a bad challenge, but he's not 100% sure how bad, and he takes the kind of easy option with going with the yellow, hoping that if it's really bad, the VAR will dig him out and put him right.